Luna's toes sank into the warm sand as the waves washed over them. Up ahead, her parents strolled the shoreline. Something shiny flickered near a piece of driftwood, catching her eye. Like a kite tail on the wind, Luna's laughter trailed behind her as she and her pup, Piggy, dashed over to investigate. The closer she got, the brighter the object of her attention sparkled. Luna knelt and eagerly started scooping sand away, humming all the while, as Piggy watched with interest. It took some time, but Luna dug until she got a hold of the buried edges. With a gentle breath, she blew away the top layer of sand, revealing a smooth surface underneath. With a final tug, she pulled it free and landed on her backside with a surprised "Yow!" In her hands was a masterpiece of nature. The shell was so unlike anything she had ever seen on any of their nightly beach walks that she knew she had unearthed a treasure. She held up her discovery. Its surface was a canvas of shifting colors, iridescent in the sunset light, transforming from powder pink to fiery orange before settling into a golden yellow hue. Luna cradled the shell, holding it in the path of the sun's softening rays. Her parents were equally amazed. "Oh, wow!" her mum exclaimed. "Can you imagine the creature that made that its home?" Her dad, who usually had answers to these sorts of things, was speechless. Even Piggy seemed to appreciate the beauty of Luna's find, sitting back on her hind legs with her nose twitching in the breeze. As Luna held the shell to her ear, expecting to hear the muffled echo of the sea, she heard something different. A voice, soft as a lullaby, wound its way through its spiral corridors to her ear, where it called her name. She pressed the shell closer, listening intently as the voice became clearer. As she listened, her eyes swelled like the incoming tide, big enough to reflect the marvels of the twilight sky. "Luna," the voice whispered, like palm leaves rustling in the wind. Brimming with excitement, she turned to her parents, eager to share her discovery. "Listen," she exclaimed, holding up the shell. "The shell knows my name. It spoke to me." Her mom and dad knelt down to listen, the three of their heads aligned like planets during an eclipse. "I am an ancient spirit of the sea," the voice said, growing clearer with each word. "I know you to be a courageous and kind-hearted soul, Luna, which is why I've chosen you for a special mission. If you accept, treasure beyond your wildest dreams awaits." Luna's gaze shifted from her mum to her dad, out to the ocean, then back to Piggy as curiosity bubbled inside her. What was this mission and what was the treasure? And how would she know what to do? Her dad's voice carried more than a tinge of curiosity. "What will you do, Lou?" For a moment she wrestled with her courage, uncertain if she should accept. Then a surge of determination swept through her, igniting her spirit of adventure. Luna agreed, and somehow from deep within the shell, she felt the spirit of the sea smile. Her parents spread out a beach blanket to sit and take in the view as the sun dipped below the horizon. To Luna, it looked like a big scoop of orange sherbet melting over a turquoise tablecloth. Side by side, they sat with the salty breeze tickling their faces and the blanket corners rippling in the wind as the day drew to a close. Sailboats glided past, their multicolored striped sails catching the warm light of the setting sun. The final parasail descended from the sky, being reeled toward the boat, where laughter and music waited to welcome the two pairs of legs dangling from the harnesses. "Mom, Dad, what do you think this mission is?" She noticed the glances that passed between them, which gave her the distinct impression they knew more than they were letting on. Luna's parents' eyes shined with a shared secret. "It's a special adventure, Luna," her mum replied, unable to contain her grin. "You'll see soon." "Will I like it?" she asked, her imagination running wild. Her mum pulled her close. "I think you'll love it. But that's up to you. If you don't feel up to it, you don't have to go. That's the great thing about adventures. There are so many to choose from. The palm trees along the footpath swayed and the waves curled. Stars appeared, blinking on and off in the ombre sky. Everything around her summoned her forward with the promise of adventure. The beach was empty now, occupied only by the sounds of the wind, waves, and music from a nearby restaurant. Luna sat with the shell cradled in her lap, while inside her, the anticipation and excitement continued to build. "How will I know it's time?" she asked, but her parents only smiled. She stood to stretch her legs, growing anxious from all this mystery, when a big, bright burst of light flashed on the horizon. Her parents perked upright, leaning forward with their eyes fixed on a point past the buoy line. Luna followed their gaze, but saw nothing. The ocean was calm, the sky growing darker by the minute. There was no sign of anything that could have caused the purple flash she'd seen out of the corner of her eye, so she made her way down to the water where she watched and waited, wondering if it would happen again. Again she turned to her parents, ready to ask for clues, but found them this time with their heads at a tilt, eyes wide toward the night sky. Behind her, the sound of raucous jumping fish slapped the surface. She spun back around to witness the aftermath of an enormous splash, its origin a mystery. Telltale ripples moved outward from the epicenter like bands of secret keepers. The hairs on Luna's arms prickled as a gentle light from the moon lit the path of whatever was darting just beneath the surface and moving faster and faster toward the shore. Luna held her breath. Everything under the moon seemed to alternate between moving too slowly, then too fast. Seconds passed like hours as she waited for another hint, another glint in the water. The suspense sent her pacing the shoreline for answers. Another splash, much closer this time, made her heart race as she scanned the ripples in the waves. That's when she saw them. The distinctly shaped scales on the creature's tail that caught moonlight in the water where it landed and bounced it back into space. Cosmoid scales, they were called, and they were unmistakable. A tail that size with those particular scales moving that fast could only belong to one being. A mermaid. Right before her eyes, a magnificent tail broke the surface in an act of sheer gravity defiance. Shooting straight up through the water, it held its position, reminding Luna of the underwater handstands she and her friends practiced at the pool. This tail stood stiff as an arrow and shimmered with the brilliance of 1,000 constellations. Luna couldn't fully grasp exactly what was happening. She just knew it was big and part of a much larger story falling into place around her. Then, in the blink of an eye, the mermaid disappeared. Luna looked up and down the beach, but it was gone. "Where did you go?" she called into the night. The air was suddenly saturated with song. The melody hung like fog around her. The singing voice was not the same as the one from the shell. This voice, like the tune it hummed, was familiar, the song she knew by memory. It was the one her aunt sang to her when she was a baby, and now sang with her whenever Luna needed cheering up. It was their own special song. "Luna Grace," the voice sang, enchanting and familiar. Luna turned around, and there on the jetty sat a mermaid, her long, wavy, white blonde hair shining like a lighthouse against the dark rocks. Luna blinked. It couldn't be. Could it? Because the mermaid looked and sounded exactly like her aunt and knew their special song, but how was that possible? Aunt Taylor wasn't a mermaid. Or was she? "It's rude to stare, my love," the mermaid chided, sounding every bit like Aunt Taylor. Luna took off, running toward her, kicking sand in all directions and wishing in that moment she could fly. It was Aunt Taylor, she was sure of it, but stopped just shy of her anyway, wanting to understand how this magic could be true. The mermaid's eyes twinkled. She held out her arms and Luna ran the rest of the way until they met in a watery hug, scales and skin brushing against each other. "Welcome to the magical world of the sea, Luna Grace," she whispered with a mischievous grin. "We have a big adventure ahead of us. Are you ready?" Luna stood back in disbelief, taking in the sight of her aunt's tail. "You're a mermaid!" she gasped. Aunt Taylor nodded, her grin spreading like sunshine across her face and crinkling the corners of her eyes. "We all have our own particular kind of magic, Luna," she said, as her fluke skimmed the water. "It may not always be as visible as a mermaid's tail, but it always makes itself known." Luna's gaze lingered, unable to break away until she'd taken in all the intricate swirls etched upon the tail's surface. Cerulean and lavender and turquoise blended seamlessly in the background, like layers of sky. Each scale was outlined with a shimmering iridescence, and with every strong and graceful flip, more colors made themselves known, more colors than Luna could put into words. It seemed that each scale told a story that had been written by the sea itself. "Do I have magic?" Luna wondered aloud, still staring. "Do you have magic? You, my funny little moonfish, are the most magical person I know." For as long as Luna could remember, her family's nickname for her had been Moonfish. She'd never given it a second thought. Now she wondered what untapped potential and unique magic she possessed. Taylor answered as though Luna had asked her the question directly. "You just have to know what makes you unique and be proud of it. That's your inner magic. And just like casting a spell, that inner magic gives you the power to create, transform, and make a difference in the world." Giving it more thought, she added, "Magic isn't just the stuff of fairy tales, you know. Or mermaid tales," Luna muttered, then laughed at her own joke. Taylor didn't miss a beat. "I've actually never met a talkative fairy. They can be awfully sneaky. But I do know a girl with a pony tail," she said, giving Luna's hair a playful flip. The pouch tied around her aunt's waist was made from a mishmash of found objects. Scraps of sun-bleached sail, kite-surfing nylon, the rubber thong of a sandal. Luna even made out the print of a chocolate-glazed donut with pink sprinkles that had once been a pool float, all of it tied together handily with fishing line, strands of beaded seaweed, and sailor knots. Taylor reached inside and removed a necklace. Its center pendant was a coiled turret shell that radiated with a glow that was otherworldly, dark and soft in the center, neon around its edge. "This is a special gift for you," she said, her voice warm and assuring. "This enchanted shell holds the magic of the ocean." As she lowered the pendant into Luna's open hands, the light within pulsed like a heartbeat. All Luna felt was awe as she held it. Like the scales on her aunt's tail, it was alive, swirling and dancing in whichever direction the light moved. "Whenever we go on underwater adventures, my little moonfish, you must wear this necklace. It's your connection to the ocean's magic, and it will guide you and protect you through a direct channel to the guardianship of the sea. When you wear it, a protective barrier forms around you, allowing you to breathe underwater and keep you safe and warm." As the clasp fastened around Luna's neck, an immediate sense of warmth washed over her. Aunt Taylor beamed with pride. "You were born with the spirit of the sea within you, Luna. The ocean is full of secrets, and you're about to uncover many of them." The mermaid took Luna's hand and stared deep into her eyes, as her voice took on a conspiratorial tone. "Tonight, we're hunting for treasure." Luna remembered what the voice in the seashell had promised, so she was ready. Taylor continued, "The way to unlock great mysteries and the best adventures is to do a deep dive. I have to warn you, it's dark down there. Your ears might pop, and it might be scary at times." Luna, who had long grown restless to meet this magical world, exclaimed, "That's the whole point of an adventure." Aunt Taylor grinned. "You're right about that. So you're up for it, then?" Luna nodded. "I'll be with you the whole time," she reassured once more. The night air tingled with anticipation, and the waves lapped impatiently at Luna's feet, urging her into the water. She turned to her parents, who were now standing to see them off. With a wave and kisses blown from fingertips, Luna and the mermaid joined hands and plunged into the boundless blue. Luna was surprised at how easily she adapted to breathing underwater and the swift speed a mermaid travels. Rather than dull her senses, the water heightened them, immersing her in a symphony of aquatic sounds. She felt like she was waltzing through a concert hall, a guest to an underwater performance. Each element played its part: the gentle strings of swaying seagrass, the airy winds of fish schools, the brass of breaking waves, and the percussion of bubbles rising to the surface. Coasting past the breakers and into the night, her aunt's song lifted them through the currents, each verse amplifying the thrill coursing through her. Join me on a journey, come along and see. The night's alive with stars and swirling tides in the sea. Under the moon's loving eye, let courage be our compass and destiny our guide. Beneath the twinkling stars inside the shimmering sea, into this magical realm, you and I will be. Me and my moonfish and me. Overhead the light shifted, casting shadows that covered them like a heavy veil. Yet amidst the enveloping darkness, a persistent sliver of moonlight unfailingly sought them out. With each stroke forward, that faint glimmer intensified, transforming the shadows into vivid seascapes. Brightly colored coral reefs, teeming with angelfish and sea stars, rejoiced in the light of the moon. Playful clownfish peeked out from anemones, while parrotfish nibbled on coral, leaving trails of colorful crumbs in their wake. Schools of small silver fish darted in and out of crevices, while torpedo-shaped reef squid, curious about the visitors, propelled themselves closer to examine them with their enormous eyes. Suddenly, right before them, a ship's mast jutted out from the depths, as if saluting its past adventures on the high seas. Its hull wore patches of coral like badges of honor. A blanket of sea creatures covered the ship, making it a bustling marine haven. Sea turtles, rays, and sharks circled in search of food, while a moray eel wove its slender body through the wreckage with captivating fluidity. Inside, hidden chambers beckoned to be explored. Luna dove down, feeling the mysterious sea's power and pressure all around her. The moon remained a steadfast guiding light, offering a path of safety. In what used to be the Grand Captain's quarters, Luna encountered a manta ray at rest, holding the prestige of the once great room in its wings. Luna followed the straight line from her aunt's fingertip to the ocean floor, where stingrays glided over the sandy seabed. There lay a trove of golden treasures. Luna's heart skipped a beat as she stared at the bounty before her. Jewels, coins, and trinkets from distant lands were scattered like confetti over the ocean floor. Beyond the glittering treasures, a bright yellow starfish clung to a rock as a massive green sea turtle lumbered past, its once brilliant shell encrusted with layers of barnacles. Swimming closer, she observed the weariness in its body and the great effort it took to move through the water. "Hello," she called softly. "My name is Luna. Your shell looks heavy with all those barnacles. Is there something I can do to help?" The turtle lifted its head to meet Luna's gaze. In its eyes, she saw sadness give way to hope. "It's been a long time since someone offered me help. Thank you, Luna. These barnacles have been clinging to me for so long that they're weighing me down." Luna carefully examined the turtle's shell. Her dad, who volunteered with the Sea Turtle Conservancy, had taught her that barnacles didn't always harm sea turtles, but the weight of so many made it difficult for them to move. As more barnacles attached themselves, they moved toward the turtle's eyes, making it hard to see. Luna gently set about removing them. Loosening them one by one, she made sure not to harm the turtle's tender skin or damage its shell. Bit by bit, the turtle's relief and freedom of movement grew. As the weight was removed from the turtle, the light around them brightened. Luna sensed that the moon was offering more light to complete the task. Her aunt placed a hand on Luna's shoulder. Finding a spot beside the starfish, she wrapped her tail around the rock to anchor herself in place. "Helping others is a beautiful thing," she said, gesturing to the turtle's shell. "Even when it's not pretty." Looking on, she started to hum "When You Wish Upon a Star." When she sang the words, she added a twist, singing "When You Wish Upon a Starfish." Luna giggled. "Makes no difference who you are, fish," she chimed. "Anything your moonfish desires will come to you." Her aunt drew out the final note, holding it a little longer than was practical to buy herself time to untangle the small brush she had hidden in her wild mass of hair. "What else do you have stored in there?" Luna asked. "Secrets," her aunt replied with a wink, as she rubbed the bristles across the turtle's shell to smooth away the rough pieces left by the barnacles. They worked in silence until the last barnacle was gone, and the turtle's shell gleamed with renewed brilliance. Luna sighed with relief as the turtle sped away, swimming freely, unencumbered by the weight it had carried. "That felt good," she said, smiling at her aunt. "It did, didn't it?" Taylor remarked, tucking the brush back into her hair. "I'm proud of you for noticing the problem and doing something about it." Luna blushed at the praise. "Imagine all those barnacles are worries, fears, and negative thoughts we carry in our hearts, things that make us feel heavy. When we're weighed down, it's hard to be our best, and sometimes when we feel heavy, we don't want to ask for help." "Why?" Luna asked. "All sorts of reasons. Sometimes we're embarrassed or overwhelmed. Sometimes we're too proud or we don't want to bother anyone with our problems. Just remember, when you need help, ask for it. Don't take away the opportunity for someone to feel good by helping you." The water suddenly brightened around them with a glow so intense that every shadow was cast aside. Luna looked toward the surface, expecting to see a full moon breaking free of clouds, but was surprised to see they were too far from the surface for light to pass through. "It's you, Luna." "The light. It's coming from you." Luna stared at her hands, luminous in the dark water. It was her. But how? "You said it felt good, helping." "When I helped, I did this?" Aunt Taylor smiled. "You shine." A voice broke through the bubbling currents and the faint rumble of the reef. The formerly barnacled turtle was back, its once sad eyes now bright with gratitude. "I haven't been able to swim like this in so long." To demonstrate its newfound freedom, the turtle spun in a circle. Luna and her aunt erupted in applause. "Luna, would you like a ride on my shell as a thank you? With all the barnacles gone, I know I can carry you." He cast a sideways glance at the mermaid before adding, "Both of you, if you want." The turtle's hopeful gaze was fixed on Luna, and she didn't hesitate. For Luna, the prospect of journeying on the back of a wise and experienced turtle was a dream come true. Taylor nodded in approval, and with big smiles and firm grips, the three of them set off, riding the currents of the vast ocean. Luna marveled at the shoals of tropical fish that painted the water with electric colors, underwater canyons, towering kelp forests, and maze-like coral formations. Bioluminescent creatures left twinkling trails behind as they swam, as if the stars had descended beneath the waves. When the sea turtle slowed to signal the end of their journey, Luna rubbed its shell in appreciation for the incredible ride. With a gentle nudge, the turtle began its descent, and Luna let go, bidding farewell to her newfound friend. Swimming through a narrow passage between towering rocks, Luna's light turned the dark water diaphanous blue. She wove her way between coral formations, admiring the marine life around her and debating who were the better dancers, the glowing jellyfish in their flowing gowns or the anemones that swayed with the current, their tentacles resembling long, graceful legs. Inspired by their elegant movements, Luna joined in the dance. Embracing her newfound weightlessness and ability to breathe underwater, she spiraled upward, executing a perfect loop before diving back down, determined to prove herself as the best dancer in the sea. Her laughter bubbled out in delighted chirps as she twirled and swirled. Reveling in this underwater dance-off, Luna caught sight of a pair of curious eyes peering at her from a crevice in the rocks. A brief pang of embarrassment flushed her cheeks as she realized she was being watched. "Who's in there?" she called out, swimming towards the rock. She spun around as a yellow goatfish passed, its pale pink skin and golden stripe right at eye level. Without warning, an invisible force struck the fish, sending it flying back against the rocks. Luna gasped, as shocked as the bewildered goatfish, who shook off the attack and quickly swam away in the opposite direction. Luna stared into the blue. The mottled brown tip of a tentacle appeared like a ghost, so faint at first that it could have been mistaken for a trick of the tide. 7 more tentacles unfurled, each lined with strips of suckers. Then, as if shedding a cloak of invisibility, an octopus emerged from its den. So you're the one, Luna thought, realizing the anonymous fish fighter was the owner of the mysterious eyes. In a gesture to show it meant her no harm, the octopus extended one of its tentacles. She cautiously reached for the soft, suction cup-covered limb. With surprising speed, the octopus wrapped itself around her wrist and moved up her arm until it nestled into the crook of her elbow. Her aunt sized up the cephalopod snuggled against Luna like an infant. "You've made another friend." Luna grinned. He was hiding between the rocks. She didn't mention the punch, worrying it might sour the newfound friendship before it had a chance to blossom. Taylor grinned, stroking a curled tentacle with the same affection she showed Piggy. "Have you seen him punch a fish yet?" her aunt asked. Luna looked up in surprise. "They do that a lot?" Taylor laughed. "Not every day, I don't think, but often enough. Not their best trait." Luna furrowed her brow. "But why?" Taylor shrugged. "We all have our quirks." Luna glanced quizzically at her aunt. Sensing Luna's hesitation, she added, "I'm not saying it's right, but you can't really judge an octopus, because there's no way to know why it does what it does." The octopus slipped from Luna's arms and gracefully floated over the ocean floor, where it soon discovered a coconut shell amidst the sand and seaweed. "When you look at the octopus, what stands out?" Luna thought for a moment, then replied, "It can change shape and blend into the background so you don't know it's there and squeeze through tiny spaces." "You forgot to mention its tropical sense of high fashion," Taylor added. The octopus was now busy styling the coconut as a hat, balancing the shell on its head, then adjusting it until it sat just right. Luna couldn't help but be impressed by the creature's creativity, though the thought lingered that it would most likely use this disguise to ambush more unsuspecting goatfish. "But you're right," Taylor said, returning to the original topic, as the octopus stealthily retreated into its den, sporting its coconut helmet. "They're incredibly adaptable, and probably the smartest creature in the ocean. 2 traits you want when things don't go as planned. Life has a way of surprising us with unexpected changes, like getting a sucker punch we didn't anticipate or deserve." "Sometimes you're the octopus. Sometimes you're the goatfish," Luna mused, making her aunt burst into laughter. "Yes, my funny little moonfish. That is true. Life is full of experiences, and surprises are just part of the process. The key," she emphasized, "is to adapt." The octopus emerged from its den and tipped the coconut shell toward the ladies. Extending one of its tentacles, the octopus took Luna's hand and playfully twirled her around, settling the question of who was the finest dancer in the sea. Luna surfaced to scan the coastline. They were running parallel to the beach, not far from Smith's Reef where she snorkeled. Despite being so far out, she could pinpoint her mum's bakery, Dad's boat slip, and the dense mass of mangroves where they stand-up paddled. The streetlights along the roads and boardwalk were blurred dots of alternating copper and yellow gold that climbed the hillsides like ivy. Taylor popped her head out of the water, her hair parted like curtains flat against her forehead and excitement on her face as ocean water flew from her mouth. "Do you hear them?" she sputtered. Luna submerged and was greeted by a cacophony of high-pitched whistles, chirps and clicks. Bursting back to the surface, she let out a jubilant, "Dolphins!" They heard them long before they saw them, their bodies sleek and shiny, slicing through the waves at high speed with dorsal fins raised like flags. Closing the distance in bounding yet graceful arcs, the dolphins synchronized, moving as one. Around them, the sea thrummed. Taylor leaned in and whispered, "Wait for it." The dolphins shifted formation into a single line and dove straight down into deep, velvety darkness. Luna pulled her knees to her chest to contain the butterflies in her stomach. "Just wait," Taylor urged, her gaze turning skyward. Luna looked up just in time to see the first dolphin soar into view, breaking the surface with a powerful leap. It somersaulted over them and disappeared back underwater, making way for the next to follow. Another dolphin flipped over them, then another and another, so many that Luna lost count. Each leap left a lingering imprint on the sky, with water droplets and starshine marking their outline long after they had gone. Luna extended her arms to the pod as they circled, trading laughter for clicks as their fins playfully slapped her hands. Soon, a high-speed game of chase was underway. The dolphins streaked through the water in flashes of silver and blue, effortlessly weaving between waves, teasing and taunting Luna as they stayed just out of reach. Just as she thought she was catching up, they leapt into the air, pausing to strike a pose before crashing back down. Luna and Taylor kept pace, two dark silhouettes against the bright backdrop of a full moon and starry night. Above them, the sky was a tapestry woven with stars, twinkling down at them like embedded jewels. Luna's hair, accessorized with droplets and air bubbles, glistened like a crown of shooting stars. As their time together neared its end, their companions transitioned into a farewell dance. Understanding that the time had come to part ways, Luna and Taylor mirrored their behavior. They floated on their backs with outstretched arms, letting their fingertips graze the dolphin's rubbery skin as they passed. Each touch an expression of gratitude for the fun they shared. As their circle widened, they began to gradually drift away. With her eyes fixed on the sky, Taylor asked, "Remember how much fun we were having before the dolphins?" "So much fun," Luna exclaimed, twirling with gusto. "But how much better was it when they joined us?" Luna couldn't deny the fun multiplied. "Do you know why they joined us?" It hadn't dawned on Luna that there was a reason. "They joined us because they sensed our happiness." "From so far away they knew that?" Luna asked in disbelief. "Animals and people aren't that different. We're all attracted to energy. Dolphins are intuitive and they love to play, so it's only natural that they'd want to find others like them." Luna understood. "Like to be part of their good vibe tribe." Taylor laughed. Luna shrugged, feeling giggly and slightly euphoric. "You have to be mindful," Taylor warned, still grinning, "because it works the other way too." "Like when you're in a bad mood and everyone around you is grumpy." "Exactly. Moods are contagious. Do you like being angry?" Luna considered the question, recalling the last couple times she'd been upset. Once when a kid at the playground pushed her, and another time when a stranger on the boardwalk yelled at Piggy for no reason. Both times anger felt satisfying. Her aunt lifted her head and raised an eyebrow, prompting Luna to explain how anger had motivated her to stand up for herself and Piggy. Giving it more thought, she recounted occasions at her mum's bakery where impatient customers weren't always the friendliest. Mum said they were just hangry. When you're so hungry, you're angry, and advised Luna not to take it personally. Taylor nodded in agreement. Big feelings can be helpful, especially if they push us to be brave or protective. But you know what? Feelings are like passing clouds. What do you mean, passing clouds? Taylor gestured to the ever-shifting landscape above them, where clouds and stars skittered past. I mean, they come and go like clouds in the sky. How we feel today might not be how we feel tomorrow, so we have to be careful not to act in a way we'll regret later. The mermaid raised her arms and stretched, elongating her body until it was so stiff and straight that it appeared to levitate over the surface like a magic trick. Her fluke flared, sending droplets reflecting all the colors of her scales into the air, where they flashed like fireworks in the night sky. We aren't going to be happy all the time, and we shouldn't expect to. But if you hold on to your joy, more good things will come your way. Makes sense, right? Luna agreed it did. The gap between the pod and where they floated had gotten so wide she could barely see them. With a final flick of their fins, the dolphins receded, their playful spirits fading into the navy backdrop of starlit sky. Embracing the moment's lesson, Luna plucked a long strand of seaweed from a passing bunch and tossed the berry-like bits onto her aunt's shoulder. With a surprised shriek, Taylor launched from the water, catching just as much air as the dolphins. Luna stifled a giggle, looking on as the moon framed her aunt's startled silhouette. Luna dove to evade tickles and other forms of retribution, but all the jumping had stirred up bubbles and sand spirals that made the water too cloudy to see through. Luna's light, now the brightest it had been on this adventure, became blinding, reflecting off every speck of sand and air pocket into her eyes. She turned and spun upside down in a panic, unsure which way she was heading, up, down, or out to sea, when she felt her aunt's hand on her arm. Taylor's steady voice instantly calmed her. "When water is calm, it becomes clear. We just have to wait for it to settle. Just settle with me, Lou." Luna closed her eyes, letting the water cradle her. The pendant necklace pulsed in time with her heartbeat. Together they waited silent and still, as the sand settled around them like flurries in a shaken snow globe, and air bubbles escaped towards the surface. In the quiet, the faint edge of a melody, haunting and distant, reached them. The sound was melancholy, like a sob, and swelled the water with its reverberation. Taylor squeezed Luna's arm to signal it was safe to open her eyes, then cupped her face in her hands to check she was okay. Luna shook off the concern, and soon they were cutting a path through the midnight sea, their destination set beyond the drop-off. Luna was farther out than she had ever been, where the sea plunged into unfathomable depths near the barrier reef at the edge of the island plateau. The transition between the shallows and the deep waters came suddenly, and the walls of the ocean rose in an instant, their vertical faces a symbol of the beauty found in mystery. The deeper they swam, the more amplified the melodic vibration became, until it felt like they were swimming through a sorrowful kind of turbulence. Before them, the long, dark shadow took shape. Luna gasped, hardly believing her eyes as a humpback whale shifted from a dark blur into stunning detail. Transfixed by the colossal creature, Luna and Taylor held their position, floating vertically in the endless expanse of open water. With a powerful surge, the whale arched its back and breached the surface. Magnificent in the moonlight, rivers of water and light cascaded from its great fins. The whale crashed back into the sea, and Luna was close enough to feel the rush of its wake. When the water was once again calm, Luna whispered, "It's alone. Is that why its song is so sad?" Taylor shook her head. "That's just how they are. Many of them spend most of their lives alone. It's not sad to them, it's how they like to be. And if they ever want company, they sing their song to call others to them." The humpback drifted closer, its eyes serene. When Luna met its soulful gaze, a silent understanding passed between them. Her hand looked microscopic beside the whale, but she offered her companionship anyway. To her amazement, the whale accepted, by nuzzling her with its massive snout. Taylor's smile was encouraging. Solitude doesn't have to be a lonely place. It can be a sanctuary. If you think about it, being a leader often requires going it alone for a while to figure things out. Luna knew that sometimes she liked to close her bedroom door, shut off the screens and the games and just draw or read, or sometimes do nothing at all. Some of her best ideas came to her that way. She rubbed her cheek against the whale's snout and thanked it for its song, suddenly missing the rest of her family so very much. "Auntie?" Luna asked, unable to hold back her curiosity any longer. Taylor turned to face her. Swimming backward, she didn't lose a second of speed. "How did you get to be a mermaid? Is Mum a mermaid too? And if Mum's a mermaid, what kind of magic does Dad have?" Taylor's smile was partially hidden by her hair, pushed over her face by the opposing flow of water. "That story is for another adventure. Would you like to have more adventures with me?" Luna smiled wide. "We can have more adventures?" "All the adventures you want." Luna nodded excitedly, and her aunt pulled her close in a tight hug. Sensing Luna's energy wane, she added, "Let's get you home." Luna wrapped her arms around Taylor's neck and rested, thinking to herself as they sped through the water that there were so many perks to exploring the ocean with a mermaid. Before she knew it, she was once again standing on the shore with the waves lapping at her feet. Her parents were right where she left them, atop striped towels and beach chairs with music playing softly from a portable speaker. The moon was a spotlight on the dark water. For her final act of the evening, the mermaid's tail pierced the surface and curled into a wave that splashed water toward the shore. Mermaids speak for good night. Her mum was up and walking toward her with a warm towel and a smile. Was it fun out there? So fun! The words rushed out of Luna like water from a broken dam. We saw dolphins and met a sea turtle and hung out with a whale, and I held an octopus like a baby after it punched a fish. Her mum knelt down to wrap her in a towel. I can't wait for you to tell us all about it, and the treasure you found. The shipwreck came to mind and all the gold scattered on the ocean floor. We went to a shipwreck, and there was treasure everywhere, but... Luna's voice trailed off. We forgot it. You forgot the treasure? Luna thought of the turtle, octopus, dolphins, whale, and that her aunt was a real-life mermaid who had helped her understand her unique kind of magic. She shook her head as a slow grin spread across her face, suddenly understanding that this is what Spirit of the Sea and her aunt meant all along when they promised great treasure. It also solved the mystery of why her parents had been so secretive. They wanted her to find this out for herself. The treasure she found was not at all what she expected. No, Luna decided. I didn't forget the treasure. Her mum gave her hand an understanding squeeze before standing to walk Luna back to their spot up the beach. Trudging through sand, Luna's legs and arms suddenly felt like they were made of concrete. Even her eyelids were heavy. She struggled to keep them open, wanting to share every detail of her adventure, but all she could do was fall into her dad's lap and close her eyes. Someone had a big time tonight, he said, spreading another towel on top of her for warmth. Piggy buried her nose in the crease of Luna's neck, taking in the scent of all Luna saw and experienced that lingered in her hair, then licked the salt on her cheek. As sleep washed over her, the events of the evening tucked themselves into her memory, ready to be shared in the days to come. With a contented sigh, Luna knew there would be many more adventures in the future, but for now, she was happy to be home. Thank you for watching Luna by the Sea by Taylor Gray.